Hey, what is up, folks? Welcome back. Will here once again for another fight card prediction. We're going to be breaking down UFC 221 from Perth in Australia as Yoel Romero faces off against Rockhold for the UFC Interim Middleweight Championship in an unbelievable... That's a great fight. That's one of the best fights we've had to start off this year, and it'll be one of the... I think it'll be one of the best fights we have for this year. As always, thank you for the support. Thank you for the new subscribers. We're killing it this year. I've had like 140, I think, new subscribers for the first month of the year, so it's incredible. I'm trying to get to that 2,000 mark, so just keep on pushing, keep on helping me get to that mark, and just thank you for the support. You guys are awesome, you really are. Week in, week out, you always support me, say kind words, even when my picks... you've got a different opinion, you're still really good with it. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate each and every one of you who tune in every week. Coming off the event last week, I think I went 7-4. A little bit salty about the Tim Means fight. Was very close. I thought Eric Anders had an opportunity to win that fight, very close, but the Tim Means one kind of annoyed me a little bit because I thought Tim Means actually looked really good in rounds 2 or 3, but it was a close fight at the end of the day. So yeah, moving on to this card. It's weird for a pay-per-view. Like the main card is not great looking, but I think the fights could be exciting. That's what I think could happen. I think the prelims are banging. I think they are really good prelims, and I'm looking forward to kind of watching the early fights, and because there's a lot of very even matchups, and looking forward to a couple of new debutant fighters in there as well. So, or at least one. But yeah, it's a solid card. I think it got hurt dramatically with Roberto falling out. Of course, he's the first guy from Australia down under to kind of win a title. So this kind of fight card was really made for him there. He was going to defend his championship, but he had a whole host of injuries, which he talked about in the MMA Hour this morning, earlier on today, I should say. So getting healthy, I think, is his main priority, and let these two duke it out to see who he faces upon his return. But as I say, overall, it's solid. I think it could turn into a very fun night of fights, though, because I think there's a lot of good fights that could... you're not looking at it to be that good, but could turn out to be very solid matchups. So yeah, we're going to start down in the welterweight division with Luke Jumeau against Daichi Abe. I'm not the biggest fan of Luke Jumeau. I don't think he's overly that great a fighter. I did think in his debut against Dominic Steele he did show vast improvements in his takedown defense, especially against the cage, because in previous fights that he'd fought, he would get taken down, he would get dominated, and I thought Dominic Steele would be the type of fighter that would just wear on him and wipe him out eventually, just with the pressure and so on. And it didn't really come to fruition in that fight. Won that fight, moved on to face Shinzo Anzai, and Shinzo Anzai beat him, got a takedown, kind of outstruck him, which was I thought he had the advantage in like at least the technical aspect of the fight. Turned out not to be the case. I think the power shots of Anzai hurt him, and he kind of backed him up a little bit. And yeah, he comes from a Taekwondo background, and he tries to use that, but I think his grappling is improving, but I still think you can get this guy through that if you can find the right spots to get him. Daichi Abe's coming off that win over Hyun Lim. I thought he showed a really good kicking game. I thought he looked like just a very good fighter overall. I thought he popped his right hand out there very well, put his combinations well together, and that was a nice win over Hyun Lim. It's like I'm actually a fan of Lim to my detriment, because I think the early fights in his UFC career, I was really high on him, but I think we're starting to see the kind of fighter he is. He's definitely reining back. He's not the fighter he once was, and these guys that are coming in 5-0, 6-0 are beating him as well. So how do I see this fight going? I think that Daichi Abe can grapple here. I think he's got a judo black belt as well, so he can get takedowns and trips and so on through that. I've seen that in his regional stuff. I think on the feet, maybe Jumeau just edges it, but I don't think he ever uses it that much to his advantage. I think he's got clear holes in his game. Not that Daichi Abe can really expect to kind of be the better guy in those areas, because I don't think he is, but I just think overall in this point, I think he's the better fighter. So I'm going to go Daichi Abe. I'm going to pick him via decision. but I could also see it being very, very close. Moving on, the bantamweight division, Teruto Yashibo Ishihara against Jose Teco Quinonez. Literally, I was looking at this fight. I never even looked at where I thought it was a 145. I don't know why I automatically thought that. But obviously, Teruto is dropping down to 135. Now, he has fought at 61 kilos, I think it is, before. So this is not something new. The weight cut's going to be a little bit different for him, though he hasn't done that in a few years. So, interesting. Like I say, I'm a fan of Teruto. I think I met the guy. He's a really cool guy, but I just don't think he fights. I don't think he's got an awful lot of kind of skill to his game, but I think he fights silly as well. I think there's fights that he could have won, but just shown like really bad. Like that Gray Maynard fight sticks out to me. I bet him in that fight, and Gray Maynard I think took him down like 11 times and just wore on him and beat him down. And really all it took was to really keep on his feet and unload with strikes on Gray Maynard, because Gray Maynard's chin is non-existent these days. But he kind of fought literally from the second that fight started. He initiated, like, Gray Maynard initiated grappling, and he just kind of accepted it and got taken down. And it was weird. He didn't seem to me like he even fought off many of the takedowns of Gray Maynard. Came back, beat Rolando D, took a couple of shots in that Rolando D fight as well. So he needs to be sure up technically, and just kind of be careful, because I think I personally think Teco is the all-around better fighter. I love the fact since he's went to Alliance, his game started to round out. He was a little bit of that Mexican brawler away back on the Tough show, Tough Latina America, and he showed his game up a little bit, where he gets takedowns in pretty much all of his fights. And I do think that Teruto is a guy you can take down. I think Artem Lobov even took this guy down. So I expect on the feet Teruto to be throwing big power hooks, big power punches. Quinonez looking to use his footwork. I think he's the faster fighter. Stay on the outside and pick his shots a little bit better. I think once against the clinch, maybe up against the cage, he will look for takedowns. I think he will get takedowns in this fight. I'd be surprised if Ishihara stops all the takedown attempts of Quinonez, if Quinonez can get into that range where he can clinch up, get a body lock, just get a takedown. I like what I'm seeing from Quinonez. He's on a 3-fight win streak, albeit against not great guys. I mean, he beat Diego Rivas, Chimmy Morales was one, Joey Gomez, but he's winning fights, and he's winning them pretty precisely and pretty devastatingly, but pretty easily is the word I'm trying to say. And I think he's shown improvements at every fight, and I know that Ishihara's been at this weight before. It was a few years ago, but I think that's going to help Quinonez a little bit more here. I think he's got a really solid gas tank. He can go hard for 15 minutes. I don't think Teruto can. I think Teruto's going to throw a lot of heat in that first round, and his energies are going to be severely depleted. So all that being said, I'm going to pick Quinonez. I'm going to pick him via decision, and to continue his role 4-fight win streak in the UFC, which is something I wouldn't have seen coming maybe a year and a half ago, but he has shown improvements, and liking what I'm seeing out of the guy. So I'm going to go Quinonez, unanimous decision. Lightweight division, we have Ross Pearson against Mizuto Hirota, and this is a tough kind of fight. It was tough actually watching a lot of the fights of this. Like Ross Pearson, I know he's lost a fair few fights, but he is losing to fairly decent opposition. The guy's been around for the longest time. I think it's like, this is fight number 23, 24, I remember counting earlier on in the UFC. So if you're sticking around in that organisation for the time that he has, then it shows that you're a warrior. But he is certainly, in my opinion, fallen back. Losses to Will Brooks. We've seen that he's not really UFC calibre anymore. Jorge Masvidal is just a killer. Stevie Ray fought very close in that one, and Dan Hooker is a really solid fighter overall. Mizuto Hirota, I've never really been. I think he's got a really good clinch game. I think he's strong. I think he went down to 145 and he struggled to make weight last time out, so he's making the decision to go back up to 155 here after losing to Alexander Volkanovski, where he just got out grappled, and Volkanovski was just a stronger fighter, the better athlete, and was just like I said, overall the better fighter. Before that, he had wins over Cole Miller. He had the draw with Teruto. I think this is a fight that Ross Pearson can win, personally. I think if he can keep... Things with Ross Pearson, he's never evolved as a fighter. He's always had the same game. He's a striker first fighter, and he tries to keep to that. Like the fact that he actually lives in Australia now, so he's not going to have, like, if he was still living in the UK and he had to travel all the way across there, that's a long ass flight over there. But he's based in Australia. That will help him here. I think that Ross Pearson can win this fight, personally. I think he can fight long, use his striking, stop getting takedowns upon him, because Hirota's going to want to clinch and take him down and try and hold him there. I don't see that happening. I'm going to go Ross Pearson via decision. It could be a very kind of close 29-28, but I see Ross Pearson getting the nod in this one here. It'd be nice to see him kind of win this one and probably ride off into the sunset. There's no reason for this guy to really be sticking around the UFC. He's going to be used as a building block for up-and-coming fighters, probably in Europe and so on, if that's the case. He's got a beautiful wife. I think she's just had a child, or she's having a child. Focus on that and focus on your new life down under. I think he's opened a gym down there as well. But I think he gets the win here against Hirota. Unanimous decision for me. Moving on, this is a fight I'm really looking forward to on my podcast, the MMA Huddle, which I spoke about last night. I initially went with Benton. My initial gut feeling was Benton, and when I was talking on the podcast, I was thinking, right, I need to go back and watch some Jussier Formiga, because he is a fighter I really like watching. And when I watched that, I was like, yeah, Jussier Formiga has got paths to win in this fight. I think Benton is really, really good on the feet, but I think that Jussier Formiga is serviceable on the feet. And I think the one thing here is that if Jussier can get the fight to the ground, he can control where the fight goes, and I think he can control Benton and wear him out down there. He's got a really awesome triangle. If he gets you in that, it's really hard to move, and he just peppers you with strikes. He looks for submissions, and in my opinion, I said this in the podcast the other night, I think he's out of all the flyweights we've had in the UFC, I rate him number 5 on the all-time greatest flyweights that we've had in the UFC. So obviously there's DJ, there is Henry Cejudo, there is Joseph Benavidez, and there's somebody else that's kind of slipping my mind a little bit right now. But he's lost to only the best guys, in my opinion. John Dodson, that's the other one. He's only lost to Dodson, Benavidez, Cejudo. So he's only lost to the best guys in the UFC, and Ray Borg as well. Sorry, I should mention that. Ray Borg beat him down in Brazil. That was close. That could have easily went to Formiga in that one as well. So he is a legit top 5 flyweight, in my opinion. That's what I think. Coming off the submission over Ulka Sasaki, where he caught him in the rear naked choke away back in September. It's interesting because Benton, I think, has the advantage on the feet. Whether he uses that to his advantage is another thing altogether. But say initially I was going with Benton. When I went back and watched the tape, I just liked the control that Formiga had and the experience. He can grind out decisions. He can grind opponents down, like the Wilson Hayes fight and the Zach Makowski fight and the Dustin Ortiz fight. He can win those close fights and win those close rounds. Occasionally he'll go against them, like the Ray Borg fight, but I think he does enough on the feet. He doesn't get hit with that big shot that Benton's going to throw, and then from there I think eventually it finds its way to the ground and he will control that fight from there. So my pick for that one, in talking about, so like, I am a Benton fan. I think he shows improvements, and he has shown improvements since he's come into the UFC. He's I think he's number 8 in that division, so he's obviously a very, very good fighter, coming off wins over Tim Elliott, where Tim Elliott, he makes mistakes and you can capitalise on that, and he did that in that fight. He did it very easily and caught him in a submission. Not many people, everybody was on Tim Elliott in that fight, and Benton came out there and did the business. I just think that Jussier is just a very solid fighter, and I think it's going to be hard for Benton to really get him here. So Jussier Formiga via, I'm going to go another decision victory here to start off. In fact, no, I'm going to go a submission. Don't know, I was looking at my picks there that I've got in the corner. I've got a submission in early round number 3 for Jussier Formiga. Moving on to lightweight division. This is a really good fight. Lightweight division. That should be featherweight. That's wrong. It is in the featherweight division with Jeremy GBC Kennedy against Alexander Volkanovski. Great fight. Both guys come from a wrestling background. I think Jeremy Kennedy's undefeated. He's 9-0, training out of Extreme Couture in Las Vegas now, from Canada originally. Alexander Volkanovski from down under. I think it's a 16-1 record that guy has. So both guys looking to move up that ladder. I think they're both 3-0 in the UFC, and both guys very good in the grappling aspect. If you go back and look at the fights that they've had in the UFC so far, a lot of takedowns, a lot of top control, a lot of pressure. That is these guys' game. Both guys' games, and I expect this. I don't see any guy ready to kind of stay in the middle and show their striking here. These guys are going to win a grapple. It's the way they know how to win. So, thing is with Kennedy, I don't think he's got much of a finishing instinct. Even on the regional scene, he was winning fights by unanimous decision, where Volkanovski was finishing fights due to submissions and TKOs and stuff, ground and pound. The way I see this here is establishing who can get the takedown first. I think both guys will get taken down. We've seen Volkanovski taken down. I think Hyun took him down in that last fight as well. But he took him down repeatedly, advanced position, and just really put the grind on him and won the fight fairly convincingly. And he was passing, he was very active in the feet, he was peppering with strikes to move to different positions. So I like what I see from Alexander Volkanovski. Kennedy's impressed me as well. I think Volkanovski is the faster fighter. I think he's the stronger fighter as well. Jeremy Kennedy has got a big height advantage. I think he's got a reach advantage in this one. But like I say, I don't think he's going to use it. He's not going to use it striking wise. Could he use it for grappling, maybe framing off and stopping Volkanovski from taking him down if his back's against the cage and so on? Potentially. John Jones used to be the best for that, using the long limbs to kind of frame off, get the underhook and come out the side like he did in a couple of his fights. I like Volkanovski. I think he's going to get the takedowns. I think he's going to control. Like I say, I think Kennedy's going to get takedowns as well, but I think that he will pop back to his feet. I think once Volkanovski gets him down, I think he will keep him there and win the fight through there. It's a close fight though. I've seen some people on social media and Reddit and so on completely writing off Jeremy Kennedy. I wouldn't do that, because I think that he has got a path to victory, but I just think that path to victory coincides with Volkanovski, who's probably going to be doing the same, and I just think Volkanovski at this point is better in that style of fighting right now. So I'm going to go Alexander Volkanovski, 29-28 decision. I see Kennedy potentially getting a round off him, but it's a fight I'm really looking forward to seeing who progresses, who moves on, and see if they progress further in their careers. I think Volkanovski has more to him than what Kennedy has though, and that's kind of where I'm going with this one. So Volkanovski, via decision. Middleweight division, Rob Wilkinson against Israel Stylebender Adesanya. I've been waiting for Adesanya to make his UFC debut since I heard he got signed for this card. Very fun to go back and watch his fights in Glory, in kickboxing, Muay Thai, whatever, and in MMA. Now, he hasn't fought good guys with his MMA victories. His best probably be in Melvin Guillard, but Melvin Guillard at this point is just a guy that's turning up for a paycheck and losing fights. A jobber. Pretty much now, that's what Melvin Guillard is. Got his back taken against Melvin Guillard. That kind of was a little bit of concern, because Wilkinson, I think he's going to want nothing of Adesanya on the feet. Not a damn thing, because if he chooses to stay on the feet with this guy, he is going to get blitzed big time. Adesanya has a beautiful lead left hook. He has one of the most lethal body kicks and kicking games I think I've seen in a long time. When you watch his regional fights, now I know it's regional fights against guys, they're staring at this guy, they don't know what to do, because he's so long and he's so quick and he's so vicious with his strikes that they can't strike with this guy. They need to try and clinch with him, and he can get takedowns through that. So I like Adesanya pretty heavily in this one. I think that Rob Wilkinson is going to want to look to take this to the ground. in his fights before the UFC, he had a very, very heavy top game with heavy ground and pound. That's where he's going to be looking to get this fight to. I just think that he's won a note. He's lost his first fight in his UFC. I'm sorry, he got taken out by Cyril Bahadrzada in the second round. But I think that Adesanya is just a different beast. If you give this guy space, he's going to hurt you with shots, and I think that is something he has to be very, very careful of here. I just don't see him stopping the strikes of Adesanya. I think this is a really good fight for him to make his UFC debut to against a guy that I think he can blitz and he can take out very, very quickly. I'm going to go Israel Adesanya via first round TKO victory due to a liver kick. I love this guy's kicks. His low kicks. He throws like lovely right left 1-2 combos up top and follows it with massive head kicks. I just really like this kid. I think he's got a lot. I still think he's got a lot of improving to do. If Melvin Gillard's taking you back, then you've clearly got improving to do the grappling side of things. I think his striking acumen is brilliant. He has to work on that grappling here. Wilkinson might give him a little bit of a hard time with that, but I see eventually him catching him with a strike and just beating this guy up. If it's not the first, I see it being in the second. So one of my most kind of confident picks is Adesanya here. I don't think he'll be worth betting, all honesty. I think that his line's going to be fairly inflated, but maybe inside the distance via TKO, so on, maybe he's got heavy ground and pound as well once he hurts you down there. I like Adesanya via stoppage in this one, so I'm going to go first round. I'm going to go a liver kick finish there. Damien Brown against Dong Hyun Kim. This is another fight I've been kind of flip-flopping on a little bit. Damien Brown was the initial gut feeling once I was watching kind of a few early fights of his. I thought he could potentially win this fight. Then I went back over the last 2 days, especially today. I went back and watched Dong Hyun Kim's fights, and he's a good fighter. Dong Hyun Kim, he's very serviceable. I know he's not faced the kind of, Brendan O'Reilly and Takanori Gomi are not good guys to really show off your skill sets against, because they're cans really, especially Gomi at this point. But what I liked in the O'Reilly fight was his aggressiveness to get the takedown, to control the fight down there. Now, O'Reilly did get positions where he reversed himself, but Kim was very quick to move and get reversals of his own. He's long, he's a big guy, showed he's got some striking in those fights, especially in the Polo Reyes fights. He was throwing bombs in that one. That was such a great fight. UFC 199 against Polo Reyes. He ultimately lost that one, but it was just a great fight nonetheless. Damien Brown's coming off a war against Frank Camacho where he got hit with a lot of shots. It's a fairly fast turnaround. It's only like 3 months since that fight, so yeah, I think it's a tough fight for Damien Brown. I think that Dong Hyun Kim, I like the fact this is the last fight in the prelims. I think the UFC are hoping that these guys can maybe start swinging and trading leather, because if it happens, this is going to be a great fight, because both guys can throw big heavy shots and could put either guy down. But I think that Dong Hyun Kim can grapple in this one. I think he can control, and that's kind of where I'm going with this one. Initially, like I said, I was going with Damien Brown. I thought he could stop the takedowns, and I thought he could have a little bit more output on the feet to win rounds. I think that Dong Hyun Kim's going to get multiple takedowns and multiple controlling positions in this fight. So I'm going to pick Dong Hyun Kim via decision in that one there. So, moving on to the main card. Starting off in the extremely depleted light heavyweight division, I should say, with Tyson Pedro against Saperbeg Safarov. We'll start off with Saperbeg Safarov. Pretty fun UFC debut, to be honest with you, against Gian Villante. The guy comes out and just swings massive heaters, massive leg kicks. You have to be careful of that body, because the way he wields, I think he threw those leg kicks so hard in that fight that he totally tore ligaments in his knee, which he continued to throw throughout the first round into the second round as well. Has a lot of defensive frailties, though. That's something that was very apparent against Villante. Villante hurt him a lot in that fight. He put Volante down to one knee as well. So this guy, and even when you watch his fights before the UFC, this guy comes forward, bull rushes you, and looks to just make the fight exciting. He's got a 4-second knockout that I just watched before I started filming this. The guy's really exciting. I think he's going to be super dangerous in this first round here. And Tyson Pedro needs to be extremely careful in this one. We've seen him get sniped by Khalil Roundtree. I think that Safarov throws different strikes to what Roundtree does. He throws looping hooks. So as long as he doesn't get hit with those shots and he keeps his hands up, I think he can avoid the big shots that Safarov's going to throw. Pedro, I think, has a big advantage on the ground here. In saying that, Safarov, in his fights, people have had heel hooks on him, he turned over, and he's got rear naked chokes out of that as well, so he has to be careful. But I think that Pedro can control. I think he will find a submission. I think he'll wear down Safarov. And I don't think that Pedro's overly great. I think he's still got a lot of work to do, but I like him in this fight, but I wouldn't say he's overly a safe pick. I have bet, actually, Tyson Pedro with another guy. I parlayed him for plus money. I just think that if he can survive that very hairy first round and get takedowns and control, I think he eventually will find a submission. That's kind of where I'm going and how I'm seeing this fight going. But Safarov's fun to watch. He's going to come out, he's going to come at Tyson Pedro, and he's going to want to throw leather and just really make this fight exciting. And Tyson Pedro just has to be careful. He can't back up in the cage. He needs to try and get this to the clinch and try and control through there. Tyson Pedro submission late round 2. Moving on to the welterweight division, this was a matchup I was really surprised got made. Jake Matthews against Li Jingliang. In my opinion, I think Li Jingliang deserved a better caliber opponent than what Jake Matthews is. And that's no disrespect to Jake Matthews at this point, because I think he has a winning record in the UFC. He's only lost to decent fighters like your James Vick and your Kevin Lees and so on. So he is a really, really good fighter. But I just think that Li Jingliang's in a really solid spot at the minute. He looks extremely confident. He's got dynamite in his hands. He's got defensive frailties. He gets hit with a lot of shots. He got hit by Zach Otto, hit him with a couple of shots. I literally watched the fights with Anton Zafir hit him with shots there. Jake Matthews could, I think the way he wants to win this fight is control against the cage, try and get into the clinch and try and control Lee from there. But Lee's not an easy guy to control in the slightest bit at all. People have tried that. Zafir tried to do it. He got a takedown on him. He got back up. He got a takedown through the trips against the cage. He kind of caught him in a body lock, pushed him against the cage, then tripped him, and then unloaded some vicious ground and pound. He did it in the Diego Lima fight as well. And he's on a really nice streak in that welterweight division. I was just expecting, when I heard this matchup, I thought, geez, I could not believe that they matched him up with Jake Matthews. I thought Matthews was lucky to come through that fight with Bojan Velukovic. I don't like the home gym thing that he does in Australia with his dad. I thought his dad was pretty condescending in his corner in that fight. I didn't like what I was hearing. You have to be pepping your fighter up, not pulling them down, and I felt that's what he was doing in that fight. Guy's had a lot of surgery. The guy's like the oldest 23-year-old I think I've ever known for surgeries. He's had wrist surgery, he's had a little bit of back surgery, and he's had both his hips done before his last fight against Bojan. So that's a lot of stuff. And he had a lot of illnesses as well before that kind of aided him to make the jump up to 170. Plus he's a grown boy. But he is serviceable in a lot of areas here. I think if Li Jingliang starts throwing strikes here and can avoid getting into clinch battles with Jake Matthews, he's going to break Jake Matthews, and I think Jake Matthews has a little bit of quit in him. The lines, we got early lines in this card, which is really weird for the UK. We never usually get lines 2-3 weeks in advance, maybe even longer than that. And Li Jingliang opened over here in the UK at minus 120. Now I think in America and even over here it's like minus 225 to minus 240. I could be wrong. In fact, in America I think he's minus 200. I know in the UK over here he's minus 220. So people have been putting their money on him. I seen that. One of my big things for this year was I was not going to make bets on future events I'm going to go one event at a time, and it's working for me. But when I seen that line, I had to jump on it quick. I knew I had to. I'm pretty confident, very confident in fact, that Jianliang can win this fight. I think he's the more grittier fighter. I think he's the tougher fighter. Hell of a chin. As long as he doesn't get his back taken or taken down and controlled, which has happened in the past, I just think he's going to stop that. He's going to get back to his feet, and he's got big strikes that could hurt Jake Matthews. So I'm going to go Jianliang via TKO in round number 2. And yeah, that's one of my, I think it's my biggest bet. It is my biggest bet I'm going to have this weekend. So Jianliang for the win there via TKO. Heavyweight division, Tuivasa against Cyril Asker. Tuivasa looks exciting. He looks like a nice prospect, a nice addition to the UFC heavyweight division. Still think he's super green. Coming off that flying knee knockout of Rashad Coulter in his last fight. I still have worries about his takedown defense and being controlled a little bit, but I do think he's got massive power. He's a pretty athletic dude for throwing himself with flying knees and stuff. But I think this is a matchup. He's on this main card for a reason. I think the UFC see something in him. They can build him like a kind of mini Mark Hunt, possibly. Try and get some more eyes on this guy. Cyril Asker, I don't think he's great whatsoever, but I think he could potentially have route to victory in this fight. I think if he could get Tuivasa to the ground and control him from there, he could ultimately win rounds through that. I just don't see it happening for 15 minutes. I don't see him not getting hit with a big shot. I think his striking is terrible, but he does have a lot of fairly decent top control. But it is against lesser opponents. Is Tuivasa a lesser opponent? Perhaps. I mean, he's not the greatest fight we've seen, and he's still, like I said, he's still very green, so I think he can be controlled by Asker. I just don't see it happening for 15 minutes. I think Tuivasa will land those hands and put Cyril Asker down. I hope he does. I put him in there with Tyson Pedro in a parlay. I got him for minus 215. He opened minus 189 over here, and I put him with Tyson Pedro at minus 220. I think is minus 260 now. And I got plus 113. So yeah, surprised I got plus odds on that, but I got on it very, very quickly a while back, and I think he finds a way to knock out Cyril Asker. So I'm going to go Tuivasa, second round TKO victory there. Staying in the heavyweight division, your co-main event of the night, the Super Samoan Mark Hunt against Curtis Razor Blaydes. This is the fight that I really want Mark Hunt to win. I don't know, everybody loves Mark Hunt. I just think he's your fighter's fighter, wants to get in there and just put on exciting fights, and he does that so many times. Every time you seem to go down under that, there's always a fight where he's either getting dominated, like in the Miocic fight, or he puts on just fun fights like the Silva fight, the Lewis fight, where he broke Derek Lewis in that one. But I think he's against one of these new breed guys in Curtis Blaydes, who I think is a really solid prospect. I class him actually, and I'm probably, I don't know, I class him as a better prospect than Francis Ngannou, in my opinion. I think he's got all the tools to go all the way in that division in the near future. I may get some stick for that. I may get some jabs thrown my way regarding that statement, but I like what I see from Curtis Blaydes. I just think he's a big athletic dude. His striking is ever improving. Love the fact that he moved out his hometown to go to better camp, better training partners, just better conditions for him to grow as a fighter. Huge reach advantage. I think he's got an 8-inch reach advantage in this one here. And he's got the clear grappling advantage. If he decides to use that here, kind of like what Brock Lesnar did. Now, Brock Lesnar's a beast. You can control Mark Hunt, and you can take him down. I think you can lay on top of him and do that. Curtis Blaydes, I think he's going to want to come out here and show that he's got striking, which he has. Showed that in the Lennox fight. He's got big power. He caught him with a really beautiful uppercut to put him down. But you don't want to be spending time on your feet with Mark Hunt, because it's only a matter of time before he can land up one hit a quitter and you're going to be down. But he gets takedowns in pretty much all of his fights if he chooses to use his takedowns. I think he has to use that here. I think initially he will come out, look to pop that long jab, establish himself on the feet. Ultimately, he has to blast in for those power doubles like he did in the Ngannou fight, and look to put Mark Hunt on his back, make him work, tire him out, and just kind of rinse and repeat that. Like I said, last week I was going with Mark Hunt, but then you sit and watch some of the aspects of Curtis Blaydes' fighting style, and I really like what I see from Curtis Blaydes. I rate him very highly, and I've got him winning this fight here via decision. So Curtis Blaydes via unanimous decision here, and yeah, but would it surprise me if Mark Hunt won this fight? Not in the slightest. He opened -150 over here in the UK, so that was a pretty good odds that were opening up over here. And I know some really good cappers over here got on that very quickly. I'm just going to stay away and enjoy the fight as a whole. I'm hopefully looking forward to seeing Curtis Blaydes have the kind of breakout performance that he needs here to push himself into that upper echelon of the UFC heavyweight division. So Curtis Blaydes via decision there. Main event night of the night. Yoel, Soldier of God Romero against Luke Rockhold. And yeah, this is the definition of a pick'em. I'm seeing a lot of people on Luke Rockhold, which is surprising me, and that's what really surprised me was that Yoel Romero opened as a -188 favourite. He's in the UK over here at +130 underdog, so a lot of money is coming in Luke Rockhold here. Let's talk about Yoel Romero. Athletic freak, it can explode at any time and hurt you. Very unpredictable. I think he's by far the scariest guy in that division. He has attributes that can put anybody out at any time. He has that wrestling there in his back pocket if he decides to use it. And he's got some very, very powerful strikes. I thought in the Robert Whittaker fight, he won the first 2 rounds. Robert Whittaker really used those teeps to the body to slow him down and kind of wear him out in those later rounds, and just outgrinded him for that win, which really surprised me. Robert Whittaker was unbelievable in that fight. Like I said, Yoel Romero's the scariest guy in that division. I think the most talented by far is Robert Whittaker. I just thought he showed so much metal and grit in that fight that it just showed you that the guy is a legit world-class fighter. He's one of my most favourite guys to watch at the minute is Robert Whittaker. I was watching some of his fights as well earlier on today. Shame that he's not in this one here. But like we said, Yoel Romero, really good wrestling, really explosive guy. Cannot take this guy lightly for any second. He seems to lull guys into a false sense of security where you might be thinking, alright, I'm okay here, and then out of nowhere, like the Weidman fight, he catches you with a flying knee and he catches you with something big. The Brunson fight, I think he was losing, turned it up, finished him in that one there. Yoel Romero absolutely unloaded him on him with massive ground and pound, like serious ground and pound. And when I was watching the countdown, that was one of the things that stood out to me, is like, once I get these guys hurt, I need to kill them. I need to go after them. And yeah, it's this one here. I mean, Luke Rockhold, when you look at his talents and what he's very good at, lethal body kick. Now, that might not work as much in this fight, albeit with Yoel Romero being a southpaw. So he has to be careful that he doesn't get his leg caught and it gets taken down from that. In his fight with David Branch, he got hit with shots. He got hit with a lot of shots in that one in the first round before taking it to the ground and looking very dominant from there. Luke Rockhold has got one of the best top games we've ever seen in MMA, in my opinion. It's crazy how good and how dominant he is in that top position. On the feet, I think he's going to be the more active fighter, but he has to watch his P's and Q's because Yoel Romero will explode at times, and I think that Luke Rockhold can be taken out. If Michael Bisping can take you out, Yoel Romero can most definitely take you out with the slightest of shots, in my opinion. I don't see him putting Yoel Romero on his back for an extended amount of time where he's going to get to hurt Yoel Romero. The one thing with that, he's got a really devastating triangle, which could kind of catch Yoel Romero here, and he could win and deplete Yoel Romero through that. It's a hard fight for me to pick, and I'm really surprised at the line on Yoel Romero, in my opinion. A lot of people on Luke Rockhold. It actually really surprised me. I'm on Yoel Romero in this one. I am probably going to bet Yoel Romero because I think the odds are only going to go up, and I think the line is a little bit off. Some people have came to me on Twitter and said that they think that Luke Rockhold should be an even bigger favourite. So it's crazy, people's different opinions on this fight. Rockhold, I think, has to try and wear him out early. If Yoel Romero gets a quick start and gets some rounds, I think he's going to be hard to stop. So Luke Rockhold needs to fight at distance, pick his shots well. The one thing as well, he's moved full time to Florida. Something's happened in California. He says that he just wasn't getting the work in over there, too many distractions and so on. And he's went to Henry Hoof's gym in South Florida, which they guys go hard. I mean, they guys have always went hard in the Black Zillions and so on, where they spar really hard, they take a lot of big shots, and people have been knocked out in regularly from that camp. So interesting to see that, because I think he's coming from that core group at AKA with DC and Kane, so it must be a different aspect for him being over there at Hard Knocks 365, I think it's called. And I still think he has Javier Mendez in his coaching staff, and Crazy Bob Cook as well. But it's an interesting thing there that Daniel Cormier said in one of his interviews that there was some drama going down in California, so he had to get out of California or something was going to happen. So that was interesting to me, and it still is interesting. I can see ways for Luke Rockhold to win this fight. I really can. I can see him maybe out working him over 5 rounds, getting that top position. I just don't see it happening. I don't see Yoel staying there too long. I see him exploding and finding a way at his feet. If I'm picking Yoel Romero, I think I'm going to have to pick him via a knockout. I don't think he beats him over 5 rounds, not unless he wins the early rounds, and then eventually wins one of the 3, 4 or 5. But you have to be careful, Yoel Romero, because a lot of his wins are in the 3rd round. So he has that power and he has that pop late in his fights. It's a tough fight to pick. I just think the odds are a little bit off. I think it's a pick'em, a straight pick'em. But I see different people see different things. People are saying that Rockhold's the heavy favourite and he should be. I don't. I think it's a pick'em, and the odds are a little bit disrespectful for Yoel Romero, and he does come through, and he has come through as an underdog before. He did it in the Weidman fight. I'm going to pick Yoel Romero. I'm going to pick him via a knockout in round number 3 in this one here. If the line goes down, I probably won't bet this fight, but I only see it going up. So he's plus 130 right now. If I can get plus 140 and above, I would like that very much. So yeah, Yoel Romero I am looking at for a bet, but it's a great fight, a really fun fight. I can see both guys winning. I'm really actually looking forward to that fight, even though it's going to be like 6 a.m. early Sunday morning. It's a fight I am really looking forward to seeing. Guys, I want to know what your picks are for that main event, because I put a poll out on Twitter and it's like 55-45 for Rockhold. So people are favouring Rockhold in this one. I just want to see what you guys think. Are you on Yoel Romero or are you on Luke Rockhold? Let me know in the drop down box, and then I'll see who the predominantly my viewers are picking in this fight. I think it's a close fight. Personally, I'm going with Romero here via big power knockout, but it's close. So that's my fights for UFC 221 from down in good old Australia. Shout out to all the Australian people that watch. I know I've got a core group of people down there that watch, and I have done for many years, so thank you to you guys. Next week, I think we're back on the Sunday night for Cowboy against Yancy Medeiros. That's a very solid fight night card from Texas. Until then, keep commenting, keep liking if you can, keep subscribing. Let's hit this 2,000 goal as soon as possible. And as always, thank you so much for your time. If you've been along with me for this 43 minutes now, you guys are awesome. Take care. I'll be back for UFC Austin next week. All the best.